While the answers to questions presented in this program are accurate according to existing law and court findings, they are not a substitute for a consultation with your own attorney, who can advise you with specifics pertaining to your own questions and issues.
My name is Kara Shevlin, and tonight we're here to present to you an informational seminar about a topic that many of you will find interesting. Unfortunately, today statistics tell us that over 50% of us will be divorced at least once, and those numbers are higher with second marriages. So before you enter the divorce process, there is a ton of information that you should know so that you don't make mistakes that could prove costly. It's a good idea for anyone contemplating divorce to understand the law and a bit about the circumstances involved in the process in order to be better equipped. Divorce is complicated, and there are many misconceptions attached to it. To dispel some of these misconceptions and to provide us with some valuable information, I am pleased to welcome the Family Law Department of the Cranford Law Firm of Doogie and Hewitt here tonight. The four attorneys we have here will be providing us important information about the law in the state of New Jersey, the procedures involved in the divorce process, and be giving us some valuable do's and don'ts. So I'm pleased to welcome Mario Gurrieri, who has 38 years of experience in divorce matters. He, as well as the other members of his team, limits his practice exclusively to matters of divorce. He will be addressing some common misconceptions, and following his presentation, his team will then be answering some of the most commonly asked questions. It promises to be an education.
Thank you very much, Kara, for inviting us this evening to discuss the topic of divorce. I've been doing divorce work for 38 years, and it never ceases to amaze me how many misconceptions exist in this particular area of the law. I felt that it would be appropriate to start our presentation this evening by talking about some of the major misconceptions that we have found to exist in seminars that Doogie and Hewitt presents periodically. I think we've all watched the David Letterman show, or we've heard about his famous top 10 list. So what I'd like to do for your viewers is provide the top 10 misconceptions in the field of divorce. Misconception number 1, divorces must take at least 18 months or longer. It's simply not true. Divorces can take as little as 3 months if the parties can agree on the issues involved in their matter. We have developed a system in Doogie and Hewitt whereby we try and get matters resolved as promptly as possible. Sometimes we're very successful, and sometimes it takes a little longer. But in any event, the viewers can understand that a divorce does not have to take 18 months. Misconception number 2, marital fault matters. It's just not true in New Jersey. Many of your viewers may have heard that we are a no-fault state. Therefore, if one spouse has a significant other that is outside of the marital relationship, it just doesn't matter when a court decides the issues of alimony and child support and so forth. The court looks at resolving problems going forward. It doesn't look backward to try and ascribe marital fault against one party or the other. Misconception number 3. Does it matter if the assets are in one party's name or the other? It doesn't matter, and I'll talk more about this later. The fact of the matter is that under New Jersey law, a marriage is viewed as a business partnership, among other things. And therefore, if all of the assets are in the husband's name or the wife's name for whatever the reason, it really doesn't matter. The two people are partners, and if there's going to be a divorce, what's going to happen is the assets are going to be divided fairly, and generally that means 50% to each party. Misconception number 4. Parties living separate and apart are as good as a divorce. Not true. This is a big misconception. If there's ultimately a divorce, the court looks at the assets acquired from the date of the marriage to the date of the filing of the complaint for divorce. Therefore, if parties are married and living together for 5 years and then separate for another 5 years, all of the assets that are accumulated in the next 5 years still go into the marital pot for distribution. So one party might think he or she is saving assets by living separate and apart, but it's simply not the case. Misconception number 5. Once you have an agreement, that's it. It never changes. Not true. When you enter into a matrimonial settlement agreement and get divorced, you certainly agree to all issues as they exist at that point in time. However, circumstances change, and the courts are not blind to those changes. I'll give you just 2 examples right now. First of all, let's say one of the spouses wants to move out of the state. So that's a non-financial reason for a change in the parties' agreement. And the court may or may not permit the change of residence outside the state of New Jersey. It depends on the factors that exist. Another major reason for changing the agreement that is very relevant today is if one of the spouses, loses their job. Someone making $200,000 a year can easily pay, or maybe not easily pay, but pay their alimony and child support in a certain amount. But if that person loses his or her job, as unfortunately many people are, then that must call for a change in the amount of alimony being paid. Misconception number 6. Any lawyer can help me out. Not true. Just as we know with the medical profession, there are specialists. And you wouldn't go to a heart doctor for a broken arm. Just like the medical profession specializes, so do most good lawyers today. And therefore, if you are in need of a divorce attorney, you must ask the attorney what percentage of their work does divorce. Misconception number 7. Every case must be complicated. Not true. Cases can be rendered simple. It depends on where the people want to take it. Oftentimes, unfortunately, with divorce, there's a lot of emotional baggage that comes with the territory, and that's what can complicate a matter. But it doesn't necessarily mean by definition that divorce has to be complicated. Misconception number 8. Do I really need a lawyer or not? Some people have tried to get a divorce by not using an attorney, and they found that they've been met with disastrous results. Many people today are becoming very comfortable with the concept of divorce mediation. We at Doogie and Hewitt really enjoy doing divorce mediation because we're resolution oriented, and people should consider going through the mediation process as opposed to the contest of adversarial litigation with 2 lawyers. Misconception number 9. People say, well, my husband's business, let's say a husband has a landscaping business, it's all in his name. As I said before, it doesn't matter. If there's a business that exists, the non-operator of the business is entitled to that person's proportionate share of the business. Finally, misconception number 10, pensions, a very important topic. Some individuals have felt, and they say this at seminars that we produce, that, well, I never worked at Merck. My spouse worked at Merck for 35 years, so I guess he keeps his pension. Not so. There's a federal law that divides pensions between both the employee and the person who didn't work at the particular place of employment. Tonight we have with us the other members of the Family Law Department of Doogie and Hewitt, and they are Richard Outhwaite, Kristen Capalbo, and Andrew Economos. And they're ready to answer some of the most commonly asked questions that we find from people who attend our seminars.